So from the last point that we spoke, you found yourselves taking a long rest in a tunnel. As you were doing so, you took various watches, managed to pass through the evening without any great event. Afterwards, you moved further down here with across your shadow guard ally, hostage, unclear. Across is certainly honourable or trusted enough that you've let him keep his weapons. At least the one that you knew about. And nevertheless, you begin to explore. Heading further down this passage, you came to a split in the tunnel. To your left, a set of tracks goes on, and with really rather a remarkable perception roll, you determined, I think it was Cameron or Barra. Barra, you did. Pardon me, Barra. Blinding abs and blinding perception, you managed to notice that a set of tracks went down this left-hand corridor and then came back up again. Having carried on further, you headed down the right corridor instead, following on from the tracks of Akras's rest of his squad, which you managed to pick up. You head on further into a large sort of quite high-ceilinged cavern in which some bats were roosting at the top, and again there are a few moments where Barra took perhaps some of the geology lessons learnt way back in that school, in that fancy school in Nagaranda you went to before you disappointed your family so much. You sort of realised that actually you were able to look at some of the sedimentary rocks and work out whether you were higher or lower as you kind of traversed through this long series of passages, with the ultimate intent of making it through to the southern side of the Marabanda forest, where hopefully you would be reunited with your emissary, kidnapped in episodes previous, now available on YouTube. As you make your way through further these tunnels, you come to a curving in the tunnel wall, which leads to a bit more of a curve. Stepping closer to that point, holding the rest of your party back, Urtu, your leader, goes up to have a quick look, seeing some red glowing eyes and a bit of dapple texture. She calls back forth the rest of the party, and you see a beautiful and yet terrifying sculpture of a manticore, halfway through flight, talons extended and flailing hair, and very well carved, kind of in front of the walls of a large stone building of some sort. Coming closer and having a look, you sort of realise there's a smell of rotting meat and various other things that made you feel a little bit queasy and uneasy, not least of which would be the pack of ghouls that came charging from around after smelling your fresh blood and fresh meat, one of whom was carrying the arm of, it turns out to be Akras's compatriot, brother-in-arms or other. You dispatch them relatively handily, not too much in the way of damage to you, except perhaps to poor Kie's sense of hygiene, repeatedly splattered in various ghoul-like fluids, and then discover much. Pardon me?
Sorry, and solid.
And solid. Oh yes, indeed. Oh dear. You then discover, much to Akras's sadness and chagrin, a body dressed very similarly to him in the manner of the Shadow Guard. Very sort of dark outfit with no significant insignia, but there being small indications of rank and station and various other things like that. Akras takes a moment and asked for a bit of time to appropriately pray and wish his companion well on their onwards journey. And as you give him the space, you take a look around the rest of this building, allowing yourself to get a good view of the fact that this 80-foot long building on one side, maybe 30 or 40 feet, in this wide cavern that's really not so much larger than this building. As you come around to the front, you see again another two of these large statues, again glowing red eyes and like a little halo, a nimbus of red energy around it, stemming from the red gems pushed into the walls. As you see, there is a gate, a heavy sort of like dark mahogany door with a red iron sort of banding across it. Checking the door for traps and having a quick look to see whether you could sort of see a keyhole or anything like that, you take the direct approach and barricade it forward and push forward the door. As it did so, it opens into a room within which you see the most notable thing, a large dome of blue force pulsing with energy in regular time, and inside this dome a stone table inlaid with gold. At this table 5 seats, one larger than the other 4, like a golden throne on which is sat a figure, and at the other 4 seats, still sturdy stone chased in with gold and other filigree, so very, very valuable, are 4 other figures, 3 of which can see you, 2 of which turn to look. And that's where we left off the last episode.